Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we've got to dive right into this today because we are looking at something of truly historic magnitude. On March 31st, 2026, OpenAI closed a staggering $122 billion funding round. Now look, we see large numbers in tech all the time, right? But this scale of capital commitment, it's completely paradigm shifting. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this means. We are moving past the headlines to decipher their actual technical roadmap. We're going to follow the money, starting all the way up at high-level finance and tracing it right down to the bare metal and the developer API. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, the $12 billion funding round. 2, unpacking the $2 billion revenue. 3, the compute flywheel strategy. 4, infrastructure architecture. 5, developer tools and codecs. And 6, what this means next. All right, Section 1, the $122 billion funding round. $122 billion. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. That is the committed capital in this recent round. But honestly, what's really fascinating here is who is actually anchoring this investment. You've got backing from Amazon, NVIDIA, and SoftBank, right alongside continued participation from Microsoft. Plus, there's this massive list of heavyweight institutional investors, firms like Andreessen Horowitz, BlackRock, Sequoia Capital, and Fidelity. This sheer concentration of capital, coming from the absolute biggest players in technology and finance, it really points to a unified, across-the-board belief in the fundamental shift this technology represents. And LA Capital? Well, it results in this number, an $852 billion post-money valuation. But if we look beyond just the raw size of that valuation, there are some pretty unprecedented structural market details going on here. Get this. For the first time, over $3 billion was raised from individual investors through bank channels. On top of that, OpenAI announced inclusion in several ARK Invest ETFs. Basically, this means they are opening up indirect retail exposure to OpenAI equity. We are literally watching the company's equity shift from being exclusively locked up by institutions to being accessible to the broader market. It's a massive change. So how on earth do you justify an $852 billion valuation? Let's get into Section 2, unpacking the $2 billion revenue. Here's the absolute crucial point you need to understand. This valuation, it isn't just built on hype or future projections. It's heavily grounded in concrete reality. OpenAI is currently generating $2 billion in monthly revenue. $2 billion a month. To put that growth trajectory into perspective, that is 4 times faster than both Alphabet and Meta at equivalent stages of their company life cycles. Remember, they hit $1 billion annually within just a year of launching ChatGPT, and now they are doing double that amount every single month. And the actual source of this revenue is fascinating to break down. On the consumer side, ChatGPT boasts a massive 900 million weekly active users and over 50 million paying subscribers. They're actually expecting to be the first tech platform ever to reach 1 billion weekly active users. But, and this is the big but, a major shift is happening in enterprise. This is rapidly becoming the weight-bearing leg of the entire business. Customers on enterprise plans already account for more than 40% of total revenue, and OpenAI states they are on track to hit total parity with consumer revenue by the end of 2026. Enterprise requirements are absolutely steering the ship here. So, with that massive revenue engine already humming, why do they still need $122 billion in fresh capital? Section 3, the compute flywheel strategy. Let's walk through this stated strategy step by step. Because honestly, this loop explains their entire operational philosophy. It's like a giant puzzle, and this is the key. Step 1, they take that massive capital and make huge compute investments. Step 2, those physical hardware and algorithmic upgrades lead directly to better, more capable models. Step 3, and this is the linchpin, this reduces the actual cost of serving each token. And finally, step 4, better models at lower costs unlock entirely new, incredibly complex workflows for users. That drives up usage, which fuels massive compute demand, and boom, the flywheel starts all over again. OpenAI's core argument is that as this platform scales, it produces just immense operating leverage. Okay, so where are these billions actually going on the physical hardware side? Section 4, infrastructure architecture. Looking at their highly distributed architecture, it's a beast. On the cloud layer, they are officially operating a multi-cloud strategy. We're talking Oracle, AWS, Google Cloud, and CoreWeave. And then on the silicon layer right below that, it's a multi-chip approach. Obviously, they are heavily reliant on NVIDIA, but they're also plugging in AMD, Cerebras, and even custom silicon they've developed with Broadcom. If you were a developer, the big takeaway here is that this multi-cloud, multi-chip redundancy, it is a genuine operational reality. It's built to ensure supply-side reliability so your apps don't go down. It's definitely not just marketing copy. To really wrap your head around why they need that insane level of redundant, distributed infrastructure, consider this single metric, 15 billion. That is the number of API tokens processed across their platform every single minute. Every single minute. To put that into perspective, that's roughly equivalent to reading the entire Library of Congress every few seconds. Handling that colossal, mind-bending scale requires exactly the kind of massive, distributed hardware portfolio we just looked at. Which brings us to Section 5, Developer Tools and Codecs. Pulling directly from their latest API docs, we get a really clear view of where the platform is heading for builders. We've got GPT 5.5, which brings in a whole new class of intelligence designed specifically for deep, complex reasoning and coding. Then, there's the new Agents SDK. This is huge. It's built for code-first orchestration of tools, seamless handoffs, and container-based execution. They've also formalized the Responses API for much cleaner direct model requests. And they are rolling out specialized tools that let these models search the web and literally use a computer interface directly. And we absolutely have to pause and call special attention to Codex here. Codex has officially evolved from being just an underlying model into what OpenAI is now describing as a flagship coding agent, and is currently being utilized by 2 million weekly users. 2 million! This is a massive flashing neon signal that coding automation is no longer just some adjacent cool feature. It is a core use case of the entire platform. If you're out there building developer tools, you know for sure this is an area of massive continued investment. All right, let's bring it all together. Section 6, what this means next. So, what are your concrete takeaways from all this? First, based entirely on that compute flywheel logic we broke down earlier, where better infrastructure actively lowers the cost per unit of intelligence, builders should absolutely expect continued downward pricing pressure on API tokens. Second, with the enterprise side tracking toward 50% of total revenue, you can expect feature prioritization to lean heavily, and I mean heavily, into integration, compliance, and workflow support. And finally, OpenAI is strongly signaling a shift toward a unified AI super app. Basically, a single system combining ChatGPT, Codex, and all these other tools to handle complex, task-oriented work across various applications seamlessly. Which brings us to our final thought. This massive $122 billion capital injection, it's paving the way for unprecedented compute scale and rapidly falling intelligence costs. The barrier to entry for complex task automation is dropping by the minute. So, as infrastructure scales to the moon and those token costs fall through the floor, what will you build for the AI super app era? I really hope this explainer has helped structure your understanding of OpenAI's technical and financial roadmap. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.